going to show you a few clips of some different roads, and as they come on the screen, I'd like you to choose which one you'd like to be driving on.
And as you look at these roads, think about which one appeals to you the most. Which one do you find yourself drawn to or wanting to take? If you had to pick one, which would it be? Number 1, number 2, number 3, or number 4?
When I first saw these, I was drawn to road number 1. I tend to like going fast.
And I was drawn immediately to the number 3 road because it looks so friendly and peaceful. It reminds me of where I grew up.
The thing is, as you look at these roads and think about the road that you picked, the only information you had to go on was what you saw on the screen. What you didn't know is where these roads were headed.
That's right, and if you think about it, that's by far the most important reason for picking any given road, your destination. Where are you going?
This is true in many ways for life in general, but when it comes to setting out on the metaphorical journey of marriage mentoring, it's absolutely essential. We can't afford to wander without a true and clear sense of direction.
One of the difficulties about any mentoring relationship is actually going into the relationship and finding where you're going to go with this.
How do you define success?
What's going to be successful for me?
There was a sense of accountability. So when there was something specifically that like Rob had asked for prayer for, it was not something that was just, oh, I'm going to ask for prayer this week and then next week we're not going to talk about it again. And sometimes it happens in Christian relationships where you say, hey, can I pray for you? And then you don't ever talk about that issue. But in terms of if there was an issue that was happening, Rob could say, this is something that we're dealing with. Can you pray for me? And then it would be brought up again. And so it was checked on. And there was that level of accountability.
We're charting the course of the couples we're mentoring. I mean, it is important to know where they're at. Because as Sandra said, as they grow, you're aware of the things that they're experiencing and going through. And I mean, it's almost like coursework in the sense of taking notes and being able to refer back to some of the things that they have been experiencing, so you can be sharp and on top of helping them to the best of your ability.
There's a saying that goes, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. That's why agreeing on outcomes is so important for mentors and mentorees.
Exactly. So what does that mean? Well, for one, you've got to get proactive about where you'd like to be as two couples in a mentoring relationship. It means getting specific and charting your course as best you can.
It was pretty clear the level of commitment that we had to have in the relationship too. And so when it started off, it was basically, I'm giving you my life this many hours every week, and if you're not extremely sick, I expect you guys to be here. I expect, and it was, so I mean, it kind of, maybe, I don't think it sounds harsh because I mean, it was done so gently, but it really was an intentional time that was set aside in our schedules. And that for us, I think laid out a lot of the parameters for kind of how the relationship would develop.
There's one thing that I think we've asked every couple we've ever mentored. It has a way of cutting to the heart of the issue when it comes to agreeing on outcomes. It's this: if you could press a magic button, what would you instantly make different in your marriage?
Chances are your mentoree couple hasn't even consciously thought about this before, though there are almost always a half dozen things your couple would like to change. And if they're stuck trying to think of something, which can happen, you can give them some suggestions. Would they like more romance, for example? Or maybe they'd like to decrease the arguments in their home. Or how about something as simple as more meals with the TV off?
What we do is on the intake forms when a couple comes in is they actually put down, what do we expect out of the process? And then when we start the process, actually meeting the first time, meet and greet, shake hands, talk about our stories and that sort of stuff, we start asking them, what do you want to get out of this? Where do you want to be after we're finished with this process?
And then what's great for us is we'll say, now, when you first came in, here's what you wrote down. Did we get there? How's this played out for you? Is there more that we need to go to? We'll usually say that right before the last session so we can go there.
Right.
And then we try to also do sort of a recap at the end. We'll say, here's some things we see. What were strengths, what were weaknesses, so that as they're leaving our mentoring process, they'll have a feel for what's next.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, these are the areas we need to work on.
And then if they get plugged into a small group, someplace where they can actually begin to exercise those, then they can actually be held accountable to say, well, how do you remember they were talking about this? And then they can talk about it with their small group and kind of be held accountable for it.
Every couple has at least something they'd like to change. Keep in mind, though, that setting objective and attainable goals is what's important. In fact, research has shown that actually writing down your goals has a huge impact on whether or not those goals are actually achieved.
Goals are important, and I think if you're going to get somewhere, you've got to have them. I think for us and for the mentorees, individually as couples, we would love to see them continue to grow and excel in their love for one another and their love for Christ.
Tom took the time to communicate with me his, thoughts about where I'm at in life, specifically, job and working in ministry and what that can look like, becoming the spiritual leader of your family, and what it means to serve your wife with a passion, and as well as serving God. And to me, this is something that that's a canvas that's being painted right now.
The final element in agreeing on outcomes is absolutely essential. And this doesn't involve your mentorees. It's just between you and your spouse. It has to do with getting specific on what it is that the two of you will commit to as a mentor couple.
Being clear from the start about expectations and what you're willing to give will really help your mentoring relationship get off to a strong and healthy start.